It was a huge day on the Hill, ranking high enough to pull one of the most trended hashtags of the day, ComeyDay. Bars held special events showing the hearing as though it was a playoff game, opening early and offering specialty drinks like the Orange Russian and the Covfefe cocktail and impeachment. I streamed from the comfort of my couch with the assistance of PBS NewsHour. Thank you very much for public-funded broadcasting. I didn't have popcorn because I don't have a microwave and I am far too lazy to actually pop the corn myself. But I did have a bag full of generic labeled Raisinets. Comey did not disappoint. This was his first public hearing as a normal citizen, as a public citizen out of the realm of the government, not working at the behest of the government. So he released his statement publicly the night before his testimony, giving not just the mainstream media an opportunity to put that out into the public and get that over with, but to allow the senators themselves to have an inkling of what he wanted to say, his feelings and his notion of what he was going to spend his time to utilize this opportunity for. It has now been a week since his testimony, and since then, Sessions has also sat before the Senate Intelligence Committee. So a lot of the news clips have already run their blurbs that they thought were the most telling, or in some cases the least telling. And now we are obviously a week out. That allowed me a little time to let the storyline of the mainstream media and everything settle in. What I feel, because personally what I feel that did not get enough attention was his ode to the fellow men and women who work in the FBI, who served under him and with him. I think the mainstream media obviously focused more on Comey's direct comments relating to the fact that he called the president a liar. But his opening statement, the honesty and the respectful opening words, I think truly echoed through the halls of every single FBI office across the U.S. as a battle cry to loyalty. Loyalty to the United States of America over any kind of denominational political party. This may have, I believe, made more waves within the intelligence community than the effect his actual testimony answering these questions and the mainstream media's takes of what they wanted to cherry pick from his testimony and, distribute to the global village of the world. And I think that it didn't resonate as strongly with those folks in the flyover states, these picked kind of themes of the mainstream media. So I really just wanted to bring that up because its opening statement, I think, was incredibly important to the people who needed it to be important, and those people work within the intelligence community, and Trump really should watch out more what he projects, and because these are the people who, if they serve the Constitution, they serve truth, law, and order. And an attack on one could possibly be an attack on all. So now back to the actual what I'm going to go directly into. I mean, it was also, you can't say it wasn't important. This is the first time that he's no longer a government official, but he just flat out, as a private citizen, had the opportunity to unfiltered and candidly call the president a liar. Not just once, and even in his opening statement, but on numerous occasions. One time, regarding the White House statement as to why he was fired, he said that's just a flat-out lie. The second was worried about Trump, that Trump would lie in regards to the conversations that they were having, and that's why he started taking notes. So 3 references to questions when they were asked as his responded use of the adjective or the word lie in reference. So one was again regarding the dinner invitation. That is not how it happened. The Flynn investigation, that's not what happened. And who was calling who? he referred to that it's not how it happened. On other occasions, referring to the president's comment as not being in line with the truth. So he also alluded to the notion that the president's psychological makeup is unstable and he would need to protect both. He felt the need to protect both himself and the agency and the country. Another notable adverb used in characterizing Trump by Comey was the word disturbing. Disturbing in regards to the president's behavior and or word usage to describe the overall incompetent stew in relation to the entirety of 45's administration, the people that he has surrounding him, his inner circle, and various candidates that he has placed in his office. So when one of the nation's highest investigative agents in the United States is worried about the president being a threat to the country, I think it is time to take heed of the warning, regardless of political dispositions and your commitment to this tribalism of political identification. I mean, this is not some basement dweller like InfoWars conspiracist, I am a man, I am man, I've got blood running through my veins kind of a guy, or not some attention-seeking junkie in the beltway Barbie Coulter, or a screaming painkiller advertisement for Movantic, Limbaugh. I mean, he is the head of the FBI and a long-practicing law enforcement officer with a history of integrity. None of his actions or motivations were led for the eventual concept of financial gain. He wasn't doing this in any way to better his coffers. He's simply serving the Constitution, his government, and the law. There were a couple of senators on the Republican side that actually offered thought-provoking questions. Not many, but, Burr and Collins proved themselves to be above the White House's talking point. So I'm going to give them each a sticker. Congratulations, Burr. You got a duck because you quacked right. And Collins, you were slow to the pickup, but you got there. I don't think you intended your questions to reap the benefits in which came, Comey divulging that he released the memo, his personal memos, non-confidential memos, to a law professor friend of his, and he distributed them to the mainstream media. That was probably not something you intended. So, snail, you slow, you got there, but you did it. It's like you said, the rabbit doesn't always win the race. Then there were others who certainly failed, but you wouldn't really expect anything else. They stayed on White House talking points like Rich, Blunt, Cotton, Cornyn. And then there was McCain, who looked like he was having a stroke live on national television. It was a moment in time where it was the kicker blowing the extra point at an NFC playoff game. I mean, honestly, and in all kindness, because he is my representative, and I was extremely worried about his health and listening to him trying to complete his sentences and these thoughts. It was like he thought he was in 2012 and this was a Benghazi hearing. I mean, really, I hoped, honestly, that there was a medical professional on site that took care of him afterwards. And I've read some things up. It might have been representative is Flake, who is exactly what his name implies. I have been putting a lot of my hopes and aspirations, or my hope, in a sense, on McCain, because he's a no-nonsense hawkishness. I was hoping his no-nonsense hawkishness would be a great check to the dangers that 45 presents to this country. And then in this moment, he just gaffed his extra point. And it wasn't just that, because it was also the fact that he was that shadow voice in the background that was always interrupting Kamala Harris. In fact, he's done it twice. And the thing is he isn't even on the committee. He was there as a guest. Both him and his Democratic counterpart from, oh my goodness, I can't, Senate, no, Arms Committee. Oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. I'm completely blanking. Okay, so I digress. And in all the hearing, in all of this, the hearing got equal ratings on par with a major sporting events. I mean, this is the political environment in which we live today. The fact that people are getting up in the morning early to go to the bars and to turn on their television and get together with their friends to watch a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing, and this is outrageous. I find it wonderful. I guess it's changing our view of what people should really be paying attention to, in a sense. So, needless to say, Comey's testimony was a great piece of political sugar. And I believe that the transcripts will be left to the history books for our future generations, as this date could eventually become the beginning of the end to so many Republican officials' careers. And Comey displayed an utter credibility and unquestionable respectability. A bit of a Boy Scout. I'm sure he actually still has a box of his patches growing up. And some great stories you can tell of all those summer camps, stories down by the lake. But probably wouldn't find myself sharing too much of my jokes with him, or I would be surprised to learn that he actually does, laugh. I mean, his golly, I hope they're tapes, and just simply that was just a lie. Yeah, his very Joe Biden-ness of, oh, criminy, oh, booger poo-poo, kind of oopsie daisy. It's definitely, I think there's a chromosome that most FBI agents actually possess, that it actually allows them to be such great squares, and which makes them so credible at doing the job of protecting the country. So, of course, surprisingly, we all thought that, well, I didn't actually think, I knew he wasn't going to tweet, because I thought that someone, either a legal representative, his daughter, or someone would have confiscated his phone for the time period in which this hearing was taking place, to prevent himself from creating any more legal entanglements that would be used against him in a court of law eventually, as so often has been done regarding his travel ban that has been held up now and again in 2 courts. So Trump waited till the next morning around 6:30 a.m. to tweet about his vindication, and cherry-picking comments made by Comey, like in the same purview, calling him a liar, but complete vindication. I don't think he really understands you can't have a synonym and an antonym representing the same thing. Cherry-picking doesn't, you can cherry-pick all you want, but, it doesn't work that way. Something cannot be and not be at the same time. Well, Schrodinger's cat, but Schrodinger's cat. It doesn't exist in our universe. Is the point? Is when you open the box, only one thing exists, and so you can't have an anti and a pro be the same thing. It's a contradiction in itself. Hockey points. And he disregarded Comey's specific use of verb tensage. He literally only focused on the fact that things were all past tense, not present tense. And that was what really, it's always so annoying to me, is they don't understand between past, present, and possible future. So the talking points, which were something that dinner date and man whose neck to face ratio looks like an animated paper straw from a 50s diner, Tom Cotton was happy to alliterate how this just sounds like, a bad criminal spy movie novel, like Jason Bourne or James Bond, and it just, this guy, in the head. Then that was during Sessions' hearing this week. He's like, this is just too dumb to actually be a good spy novel. As though that is a reason for anything not to happen. It's not like the world actually even commits their espionage facilities or faculties based on spy novels. I mean, you really think there's a James Bond guy out there dressed in a tux all the time, running around with a little Russian PP-7 or whatever the hell that is, and is the only, the best and only spy. God, come on now. Now, I didn't have time to catch the snooze-worthy Alzheimer's episode, but that is all I have been hearing about this 2.5-hour session of him sat bouncing in his seat in response to certain questions. Now, he shook his head back and forth so much with his ears that I think he could have supplied the supplies the wind energy to his actual microphone, like using the wind from his I don't knows and I can't recalls, just to fuel the energy for that microphone. Because that's all he is I don't have any recollection, I don't recall, I don't think, I have racked my brain, I do not remember it, I don't know about that, I do not believe so. And he even threw in his double negatives. I do not recall it, and I can't say with certainty that I did not. I mean, it was a fishbowl of non-committal denials and first-class congressional evasive maneuvers. To the former senator for being such a... I am basically allowing privilege because I was a congressional, colleague of y'all's, and I don't feel I have to answer these questions because y'all's my friends, and I deserve a bit more respect from my peoples. Yeah, because I've been blessed. So, Keen said, I agree, you have been blessed. Way to go, Senator. Bless you. So that happened. And as I try to do often in some cases, is I try and step back and find something fun and good to talk about and to be interested in. And so that is in space news. The Falcon 9 successfully relaunched their pod and the rocket returned safely again. And Elon Musk, who recently stepped down from the President's Business Committee of Entrepreneurship and CEOs after him withdrawing from the Paris Agreement this week, he introduced to a room full of scientists, investors, and enthusiasts his own interplanetary transport system. And this was while he was at the International Aeronautical Congress. So while the administration is trying to move us backwards, there are still some icons of our time moving us in the direction of forward. And we should all be thankful for that. As well as bringing this episode to an end or a closure, this version of a fail falls to Bill Maher, who made an off-the-collar comment comparing himself to a slave who was regulated to work in the house during colonial times. After constant berates he made about other liberals who apologized too easily for racially or socially insensitive comments, he himself was forced to accept the error of and apologize for his mistake. It was a moment when his bosses, forced him to take the same steps that so many other TV personalities or public figures have had to follow. We should know by now that the only person who is allowed to make these kind of inappropriate, off-the-collar, disrespectful, and ignorant comments on such a large scale without any backlash is, of course, Trump. Resist, lots going on right now. Enjoy the day.